What? It's no secret that most young Singaporeans do not watch MediaCorp. MediaCorp's golden era of Little Nonya seems to be long gone.
The acting is a bit cringeworthy. This makes me feel so uneasy.
Nowadays, MediaCorp is almost synonymous with cringy, low budget, and poorly produced content. But why are local shows so unpopular among Singaporeans? To begin, let's look at government censorship in Singapore. Just look at this list of dramas aired by MediaCorp in the past year. Family show, police show, romantic comedy, police show, romantic comedy, police show. For the general audience, these recurring plots and story themes seem to suggest that MediaCorp is just sticking with the tried and tested story formula. But is that the only reason why the quality of dramas made by MediaCorp seems so consistently bad? One of the contributing factors we can narrow in on is the Broadcasting Act mandated by IMDA. According to the Broadcasting Act, IMDA may decide to revoke broadcasting licenses if it deems material being aired as inappropriate. This means we'll probably never see MediaCorp producing shows like Game of Thrones, which features excessive blood and incest, or Euphoria, which explores the perspective of a drug addict in a neutral manner. Both of which have enjoyed good ratings, perhaps because they were willing to push the envelope and explore themes that are hard to navigate around. Instead, what arises out of censorship are shows that revolve around one theme: positive social values. Don't just take our word for it. The IMDA's website states that the broadcast programs aim to celebrate our shared identity, diverse culture, and foster a cohesive and connected society. So it would make sense for MediaCorp to make a show about family and fighting crime instead of makeup women and dragons. Besides content, language is also regulated in public broadcasts. But why would language have an impact on the quality of dramas? Allow me to take you on a quick history lesson on dialects and Singlish in Singapore. The Speak Mandarin campaign was launched in 1979 to combat the use of dialects in order to support the government's bilingual education policy. Similarly, the Speak Good English movement was introduced in 2000. The government recognized that in order to compete in the global economy, it was necessary for Singaporeans to speak proper English and Mandarin.
If one is to succeed, he or she will need a mastery of English because it is the language of business, science, diplomacy, and academia.
As a result of the government's war on Singlish and dialects, broadcast rules states that they should not be encouraged and can only be permitted in interviews. Even though tolerance for dialects have increased in recent years, awkward-sounding dialogue still remains. I mean, just listen to this.
The nerve that girl has to lay her hands on my son.
你还要他全部插一遍，就是为了要整他。我这是替天行道，惩罚不孝女。
Who speaks like that in real life? Inevitably, some authenticity is lost in dialogue as actors are restricted by stiff and unnatural lines. It always ends up becoming a tad bit cringy. Singapore is kind of like your nerdy, overachieving second cousin who likes to do math Olympiads for fun. Small but annoyingly competitive and good at what we do best. Our success has always been attributed to our focus on more practical sectors like tech and engineering industries. Meanwhile, arts and creative work have been relegated to things you do outside of school. We are not saying we have no homegrown talents, we clearly do. But we can't deny that our art scene is not as nearly vibrant or developed as other countries. Maybe it's because Singapore values pragmatism over anything else. Remember Stephanie Cole? As a singer, she put it best.
Singapore is no place for an artist to be. This country has become so obsessed with the idea that the best thing to do in life is a doctor, a lawyer, or be an engineer. So there's the few minority that go down the forbidden path, like me. I'm not saying that there's no talent in Singapore. There's a lot of talent, but all these talents are not seen.
It's not that the Singapore government doesn't care. It cares quite a bit, at least in terms of the amount of money it pumps into the art scene. But does more funding necessarily create a stronger arts industry? It could be too late or too difficult to change something that is already ingrained in our culture. What do these people have in common? They are all artists who went overseas to pursue their dreams. Coupled with censorship laws, budding artists in Singapore simply do not view Singapore as the best place to grow their career. What about those who are truly talented but discouraged to chase their dreams? In a country where creativity and artistic abilities are not actively valued, MediaCorp has possibly missed out on a pool of great talents.
I don't appreciate what you're insinuating.
To get an insider's perspective, we talked to our filmmaker friend.
I think a lot of us, when we graduate from film school or acting school, is like we have a dream to be famous like our role models, like people that we see in Hollywood or China. But a lot of us, we don't think that we can achieve that kind of success if we stay in Singapore. So a lot of us, we actually go overseas to try and chase that real fame and success, you know.
Let's zoom out for a second and take a look at the big picture. Remember the good old days where we will religiously wait in front of the TV awaiting shows like this, and this to be on? These shows were the conversation topics in school, around the dining table, and very much a big part of our childhoods. Nowadays, not so much. For the simplest reason, better options. Technology has made accessing content from around the world so much easier. Back then, the television pretty much served as our only sources of video entertainment. Now, social media sites and massive networks like Netflix and Hulu have sprouted in the online space and dominated local TV. There is no doubt that these huge companies have bigger budgets to produce films like this, and this. Netflix is projected to spend more than $17 billion on content this year as compared to the Singapore government's allocation of $310 million a year. This has definitely made it tough to compete in terms of production quality. But is a bigger budget all it takes for better quality?
Well...
These days, it seems like most young adults are watching Netflix and YouTube, and a huge portion of the older generation are moving to Korean and Chinese dramas. Unless MediaCorp starts churning out good enough content to draw these demographics back, the gap is going to get larger and larger. With all that being said, it might not be all doom and gloom for MediaCorp. There has been some effort made to reach out to the younger audience, with growing emphasis on MeWatch in an effort to keep up with the shift to online media. With some foresight, MeWatch, previously known as Toggle, was actually introduced in 2013, way before Netflix, which only came to Singapore in 2016. New shows like Prank It and Who's the Better Actor are visible efforts by MeWatch to try and bridge the gap with the younger audiences by collaborating with online creators like the Night Hour Cinematics or newer formats of reality shows. In MediaCorp's defense, there have been some good quality dramas released in recent times that deserve more recognition. For example, Tito Dao and The Last Madam, all of which are set in older times and against Singapore's rich cultural backdrop, which we find MediaCorp does quite well in. Why not give these shows a go? Ultimately, the power is still in our hands. We should give local media a chance, because if not us, who will?